Good morning everybody. Today we shall discuss about the class 10 life processes. In your previous classes, you know that what do you mean by living and non-living organisms. So once again I am recall it. Here living organisms means the organisms which have life are called living organisms. The organisms which have life are called living organisms. And non-living organisms means the organisms which have no life. The organisms which have no life are called non-living organisms. So how do we tell the differences between is it alive and not alive? How to say here alive means living and non-living organisms. So today we shall discuss about the importance of life processes. So how do we say the differences between the alive? Is it alive? Is it not alive? For example, if we see a dog running, a cow chewing cud, a man shouting loudly on the street, we know that these are living beings. If we see a dog running, a cow chewing cud, a man shouting loudly on the street, we know that these are living beings. But what if the dog or the cow or man were asleep? We would still think that they are alive. How did we know that? So we see them breathing and we know that they are alive. When the organisms were asleep, so we don't know is it alive or not. So we know that we see them the breathing and the breathing. So we know that it is an alive. So same as we see them the green. So green plants. What about the plants? How do we know that they are alive? So we see them, their plants were green. Plants that have leaves of the colors are other than green. They grow over time. So we know that they are alive and some will say they were living organisms. They are alive. So here, so what are the maintenance process in living organisms? So let us explore it. So here, life processes means the basic processes in living organisms which are necessary for maintaining their life. The basic life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion are the basic life processes. Here, life processes are the basic processes in which living organisms are necessary for maintaining their life. The basic life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion are the basic life processes. So let us see one by one. Here nutrition. Nutrition means it is the process of taking food by an organisms and its utilizing by the body for life processes. Nutrition means it is the process of taking food by an organisms and its utilization by the body for life processes. And respiration means it is the process by which food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. So that's why it is called it as respiration. So it is the process by which food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. So that's why it is called it as respiration. And transportation means it is the process by which food, oxygen, water, waste products are carried from one part to another part of the body. So it is called it as transportation. Process by which food, oxygen, water and waste products are carried out from one part to another part of the body. So it is called it as transportation. And last one is excretion. So excretions means elimination of such poisonous nitrogenous waste from the tissue. It is called it as excretion. Excretions means the elimination of such poisonous nitrogenous waste from the tissue. It is called it as excretion. Or simply to say, it is the process by which waste products are removed from the body. So it is called it as excretion. So you have to see the figures one by one. Here the nutrition, respiration, transportation and how excretions will be and takes place. So, dear students, you know that the living organisms and the non-living organisms. So, here there are two types of organisms are there. Here unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. So, in case of single cell organisms or unicellular organisms means the organisms which has single cell. That organisms are called unicellular organisms. The organisms which have single cell, that organisms are called unicellular organisms. For example, amoeba, euglena, paramecium are the examples of unicellular organisms. So in case single cell organisms, no specific organs for taking in food. So exchange of gases, removal of waste may be needed because the entire surface of the organisms in contact with the environment. Because entire surface of the organisms in contact with the environment. But what happens when the body size of the organisms increases and the body design becomes more complex? So you have to see in multicellular organisms. You know that the multicellular organisms, your previous classes in 8th standard and 9th standard. Here multicellular organisms means the organisms which has more than one cell. That organisms are called multicellular organisms. So in multicellular organisms, all the cells may not be direct contact with the surrounding environment. In multicellular organisms, all the cell may not be in direct contact with the surroundings. So thus simple diffusion will not meet the requirement of all the cells. So we have seen in multicellular organisms, various body parts have specialized in the functions they perform. So in multicellular organisms, specialized tissues are there for excretion, nutrition, respiration and then the transportation. So let us consider these various processes so essential to maintain life one by one. So here nutrition. Let us know what do you mean by nutrition? What are the importance of the nutrition? So here you know that nutrition means it is the process of taking food by an organisms and it utilizing by the body to build the body for growth, to repair the damaged parts of the body and for energy. Nutrition is the process of taking food by an organisms and it's utilizing by the body to build the body for growth, to repair the damaged parts of the body and for energy. So when we walk or ride the bicycle, we are using up the energy. Even when we are not doing any activity, energy is needed to maintain a state of order in our body. We also need materials from outside in order to grow, develop, or synthesize protein and other substances needed in the body. So this source of energy and materials is the food we eat. So how do we living things get their food? So how do living things get their food? So, living things get their food use simple food materials obtained from the simple inorganic sources. So, in the form of carbon dioxide and water. So these organisms, it is called it as an autotrophs. So include green plants and some bacteria are the examples of the autotrophs. And other organisms utilize complex substances. So these complex substances have been broken into simpler ones before they can used for upkeep and growth of the body. To achieve this, organisms use biocatalysts called enzymes. Thus, the heterotroph's survival depends directly or indirectly on autotrophs. You know that autotrophic organisms include animals and fungi. So now let us see the modes of nutrition. So there are two main modes of nutrition. They are autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition are the two main modes of nutrition. So what do you mean by autotrophic nutrition? Here, autotrophic nutrition means nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So that nutrition is called autotrophic nutrition. Or simply to say, the organisms which green plants prepare their own food. That organisms are called autotrophs. Here question is arise. What are autotrophs? Green plants prepare their own food are called autotrophs. So, for example, all green plants and bacteria are the examples of autotrophic nutrition. And then heterotrophic nutrition. You know that what are heterotrophs? The organisms which depend food for others, that organisms are called heterotrophic organisms. The organisms which depend food for others, that organisms are called heterotrophs. Here heterotrophic nutrition in which organisms get their food directly or indirectly from plants. So organisms get their food directly or indirectly from plants. That organisms are called heterotrophic nutrition. For example, all animals, fungi and some bacteria are the examples of heterotrophic nutrition. So you know that there are types of heterotrophic nutrition. There are three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. How many types of heterotrophic nutrition? There are three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. They are saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition and holozoic nutrition are the three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. So let us see one by one. Here saprophytic nutrition. Here saprophytic nutrition means the organisms which feed dead and decayed organisms, that organisms are called saprophytic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition means the organisms which feed dead and decayed organisms, that organisms are called saprophytic nutrition. So they break down the food materials outside their body and then absorb it. The examples of saprophytic nutrition are mushroom, bread mold, yeast and some bacteria are the examples of saprophytic nutrition. And then parasitic nutrition. Here parasitic nutrition means the organisms get their food from living organisms in the form of host without killing them. That organisms are called parasitic nutrition. Here parasitic nutrition means organisms get their food from living organisms in the form of host without killing them. That organisms are called parasitic nutrition. For example, cuscuta, orchids, ticks, lice, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm, plasmodium are the examples of parasitic nutrition. And then Holozoic nutrition. Here holozoic nutrition means organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. That organisms are called holozoic nutrition. Here the organisms take food directly and then digest it and absorb it. That organisms are called holozoic nutrition. For example, amoeba, paramecium, birds, fishes, humans are the examples of holozoic nutrition. So these are the three main types of heterotrophic nutrition. And then nutrition in plants. So how nutrition will take place in plants? So let us see about that. So you know that the photosynthesis. Here photosynthesis is the process by which green plants prepare food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Photosynthesis is the process by which plants prepare their own food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. That's why it is called it as photosynthesis. The food prepared is carbohydrate which is stored in the form of starch. So oxygen is released in this process. So let us see the equation of the photosynthesis. How plants can prepare their food. So here when carbon dioxide reacts with water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, it releases glucose, water and oxygen. So once again note down this equation. Here when carbon dioxide reacts with water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, here these release the glucose, water and oxygen. So what is the process of the photosynthesis? So here let us now to see that actually happens during the process of photosynthesis. The following events occur during this process. Here the process of photosynthesis. So photosynthesis takes place in three main steps. Photosynthesis takes place in three main steps. They are absorption of light energy by chlorophyll, conversion of light energy into chemical energy and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. That is the process of photosynthesis. Here photosynthesis takes place in three main steps. Here let us observe the figure how the photosynthesis will be and takes place. Here the green plants absorb carbon dioxide and release the energy. When carbon dioxide and water reacts in the presence of the sunlight and chlorophyll, it's released glucose, oxygen and water. So here absorption of light energy in the presence of the chlorophyll and conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen and reduction of carbon dioxide in the form of carbohydrates. So these steps to take place one the other immediately. So desired plants take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate which is acting upon the energy absorbed. So here the desert plants, for example, you have to see that the desert plants, here desert plants take up carbon dioxide at night and prepare an intermediate acted upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the day. So let us see how each of the components of the above reactions are necessary for photosynthesis. So if you carefully observe the cross section of life under the microscope, so you have to easily know that. So how the green dots, how the green plants will be contains the cells. You will notice that some cells contain green dots. So these green dots are cell organelles called chloroplast, so which contained the chlorophyll. If you carefully observe the cross section of leaf under the microscope, so you will notice that some cells contain green dots. So these green dots contained the chloroplast, so which contain chlorophyll. So let us now do an activity which demonstrates that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Here chlorophyll are the green pigment present in the leaves. So if we observe a cross section of leaf under a microscope, we can see cells containing green dot-like structures called chloroplast, which contained the chlorophyll. So let us see the cross section of the leaf. And green dots are cell organelles called chloroplast, which contain the chlorophyll in this diagram. And then, so let us now study how the plants obtain carbon dioxide. So we had talked about the stomata. So we shall discuss about the next class. Okay dear students, today we shall discuss about the nutrition, modes of nutrition, autotrophic nutrition, heterotrophic nutrition, and types of heterotrophic nutrition. Thank you.